Davidoff.
Hi,
It
Jason.
is the first, tomorrow being the first Thursday of the month, we're once again previewing what's in the December Isthmus. It is December. There's been a lot of, denying whether it's December or not today. I've already noticed it, but it's in fact
Well,
December.
we had a beautiful fall, and
Yeah.
actually today it's what, 40s or 50s, so it's pretty mild for Wisconsin.
Yeah, I can take it for a while at least. I want to go skating at some point.
And I want to go skiing, so not too long.
Right. So tell us about this cover story in Isthmus this week, written by our friend and colleague, Dylan Brogan.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. As I wrote in our table of contents, usually journalists like to stay out of stories. Sometimes there is no choice, though, but to be part of the story. And I don't think that was ever more true than with this story. What happened was Dylan was contacted by producers with the BBC, and they were working or are working on a podcast that looks into these murder for hire plots that are hatched on the dark web. And they essentially find out who's being targeted and then, of course, try to contact the person. According to Dylan, as he writes it, these are really always a sham. The person contracts for it, but it does not go through. Nevertheless, there's a real threat out there. And lo and behold, one of these plots seemed to be coming from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. And so the BBC reached out to Dylan as to see if he could do some freelance work for him. And that's how it started.
The story in some respects sort of reveals, again, part of the reporting process, right? We learn about some of the, the scarier aspects of the job sometimes.
Really is scary. I mean, I would imagine that other journalists would have turned this down. Frankly, I don't know that I would have done it. Right. The first step really was to reach out to the person who was allegedly being targeted to be murdered. And so you have no idea what you're walking into there. And it was never even that clear that this was the guy. I mean, at one point, I think in the very early point, we didn't know if he was the person who put out the contract, but the only way to reach him really was to go to the house. And of course, since this was eventually for audio, Dylan as the reporter needed the audio. And so the BBC provided the name, the address, and it was up to Dylan to go knock on this man's door unannounced.
Wild, interesting stuff. We're in this year-end fundraising campaign right now where we're getting matching funds from anyone who donates to Isthmus. And part of that has been trying to communicate to people our mission, which is the sort of the foundation, obviously, is to inform and engage the Madison community with in-depth community journalism. But part of our mission statement is we believe in great storytelling, and this fits right in there, right? What makes
Absolutely.
does it have all the elements of a great story in your mind?
It does. First of all, it's the unexpected. There's great issues at hand, suspense, and truly has a beginning, middle, and end. It really could have gone in, frankly, many different ways. But the murder piece was really one piece of this larger story, which involved a formerly married couple involved in a protracted child custody battle. Yeah. And that seems to be the source of, obviously, this ongoing antagonism.
Yeah. Elsewhere in the paper, primarily in the back half, we didn't intentionally do this. In the past, Isthmus has run gift guides. We didn't intentionally run a gift guide this year, but there are definitely areas where people can get some great ideas for during this gift giving part of the year. Maybe starting in the food section, we have a rundown of sparkling wines.
Yes, Bob Haymauer did another great job coming up with affordable, sparkly wines for the season, which, will take people through Christmas and New Year's and beyond. And it's really well written and lively and very accessible, as are, I hope, the sparkly wines that he picked out. So that's a good start. We also have Michael Popke, who has written about Wisconsin-centric books and books by Wisconsin authors. So, books are always great gifts. And I think it's also fun to read about, where you live and to read about to read books by writers you might know. Stephen Koss went through his year and just looked at his favorite albums. Picked out 5. Sure, those could be leads for people looking to give others music they might already know or want to discover.
Right. Yeah, and it's those local books are really that's maybe a concept that people haven't thought about a lot, but when we're hearing about supply chain issues and stuff like that, books are, go into any bookstore, books are available, especially our locally owned bookstores. They'll be glad to help you find.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank goodness we still have local bookstores to walk into and browse.
We have a new writer this month, but his name is not new to Isthmus, certainly. Tommy Washbush, who has been our designer, our only designer since we came back in print in August, but has worked for Isthmus for many years in one capacity or another. He contributes this month. Tell us about his work.
Sure. Well, someone came up, was it you, Jason? I don't remember, or Linda, with the idea to pick one dish a month and, write about it. And he immediately offered up the tukpa.
Yep.
At Himal Chuli. He loves Himal Chuli. He's a vegetarian, loves everything there. And this is a particularly spicy soup. And he writes how, when the weather turns cold, he just starts, pining for it. And, but that it really is spicy. But I guess you have it with roti, and you can have rice also. It's a great little piece. And I think, as I mentioned, you read something like that and then you just want to go try it. That's what I want to do.
It was a reminder that, ramen and pho get a lot of hype in the food world, especially around wintertime. But this great gem, Himal Chuli, which has now been on State Street seemingly forever, has weathered a lot of coming and going of other restaurants around it, and they've got this cool dish that we recommend everybody try.
Great.
Anything else you want to highlight in print this month?
Let's see. Dylan does have some good little pieces in his column, Tell Dylan. He also dug a little deeper into the analysis that was done on the police protests and sheds a little bit more light on incidents. People will probably remember the police car that was set on fire, and this gives you a little bit more background on that. I think the other thing I would point out is our essay, which is by Jane Burns this month. And she, I'm sure people know, a longtime journalist in town, and has written several pieces for us and covers cheese also for us. It's a really great piece about the writing of obituaries and how she, as a writer, has come to be the go-to person in her family and among friends for writing others' obituaries. She also talks about, at the start of her career, she worked at the Des Moines Register and on weekends actually wrote the obits, which was really a different process than it is now. Often now papers use submitted obits. So it's just a great piece all around.
Yeah, Jane's a fantastic writer, and we're really happy to have her in our pages writing about any number of things. She's been featured. She's
Absolutely.
had stories in many of the issues so far since August. So,
Yeah.
well, fantastic. We have not attracted any questions this time around again, but we will be featuring a Facebook Live on Monday night with you and Dylan talking about his cover story a little more. Look for that that announcement on our Facebook page here very soon. And we have an opportunity that we're crossing our fingers comes to actually take place, where you'll be talking to Congressman Mark Popke coming up.
Yes, that will all depend on Congress, but yes.
Right. His availability is up in the air at this point, but his office has been in touch with us, and we're very excited about that. So look for details about that on our Facebook page as well. Otherwise, we'll see you out on the street on Thursday when we drop off the new issue of Isthmus.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks also to everyone who's donated to our year-end campaign.
That's right. There's still time to get your donations in. That will count toward our match, which we are doing through the end of the year. We've had a great month so far, a great Giving News Day on Tuesday. And yes, look for more information about that coming up on all of our channels as well.
Bye-bye.